We're talking football with Bengal Jim and friends. We're talking football. We hope this never ends. Jimmy, James, and Tom are back for more. Like Joey B, we're here for season 4 with Bengal guests and stories not heard before. There's Tony, Mark, and Jamie, as well as our charity, Hooter Nation joining from far and wide. Every Sunday night, the guys are back at it live. By the fans, for the fans, from day one, it's time to have some fun. We're talking football with Bengal Jim and friends. We're talking football. We hope this never ends. The Bengal boys stop by to drop the speed. Don't get your popcorn ready and take a seat. Season 4 will end with the Lombardi.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of, this is the post-draft edition of Talking Football with Bengal Jim and Friends. We got Geoff Hobson popping on here with us at 8:15. We're going to go through every single one of the Bengals draft picks and talk about a handful of the undrafted free agents. So we got a lot of stuff to hit on tonight, but happy post-draft episode, guys.
Syracuse grad coming on the show. No Syracuse players drafted in the draft, but we'll talk about our favorite picks. We'll talk about questionable picks. I don't think anything's more questionable than what Atlanta did with their 8th pick, but team got better. I think the consensus is we all drafted, or not we all, the Bengals drafted for the holes that they had going into Thursday night. So I think it was a successful weekend. We'll see if the viewers agree with that. Feel free to put your thoughts, as always, in the comments. We'll pop those up. If you have a question, we'll pop those up. Tom, what's your short synopsis of the weekend?
I think it's what the doctor ordered, especially the first 2 nights. Day 3, as it always is, a little bit of a fill-in, but you got some guys that need to get healthy and some guys that need to prove some things, and I think some guys with time that are going to become starters. So I don't think we could be more pleased with how things went, especially addressing the defensive line and then the run defense. So, no, excellent job. And certainly the coaching staff seems very fired up about it. So, I don't see any negative. There are even some members of the press that love to pound on the Bengals that are giving them thumbs up, very good grades on this draft. So,
yeah, all across the board, you're right. It's interesting. Dozens of draft grades across the country have been A's and B's from pretty much everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, including locally, some guys that normally aren't too objective, maybe even with the Bengals, are giving them thumbs up on this draft. So, and the other thing is, and I'll do this real quick, it used to be when you hit a draft class, you had to wait about 2 years to know whether it is a success or not. Now we're a week into camp, and people are screaming, "Oh, so-and-so, he's terrible. What do we, we missed on that pick." Give him some time. And I'm really glad Mims and a couple of the guys are going to have time to work their way in. A couple of other guys I think are going to be called on very quick. But no, it was a good draft, a fun draft. And Jimmy, how was Detroit? How did they put on a show?
I tell you what, man, a big part of that draft being successful is the weather they had. The weather was perfect up there. It was a little chilly that first night, but Tom, they nailed it. They did a really good job. There was a lot of people, man. It was a little scary at some points. There were so many people downtown, but they really did a good job with it. And the NFL, if you've never been to a draft, it's probably worth going at least one time to experience. It's an amazing time, Tom.
Well, talk about going. I know you and I have dreamt about it. James and I have talked about it. I see no reason. I think we've got the facilities for it. I know we've got the enthusiasm for it. I see no reason why Cincinnati can't put a bid in and grab the draft for us, 1 year. Let's get that stadium deal signed and show the NFL we've got the security, and let's get the draft here. It'd be a great week.
Yeah, I think you're right, Tom. That order is pretty important, right? So let's get that damn stadium deal done. But I'm being told that 2028 is a very real possibility for that draft being here in Cincinnati. We're going to hold another episode at some point here soon. We're going to talk about that, the draft in Cincinnati, and get your ideas about different things we could do in Cincinnati. But being into the last seven or eight drafts, Tom, there's no doubt in my mind Cincinnati would shine and just kill it with the NFL draft here. So
we're going to continue the draft talk with Geoff, who's going to come on in about 10 minutes. I think you teased this on social media, Jimmy. Let's talk about a change, much like a lot of these college kids getting drafted to the NFL. We're going to have a slight change in teams, not teams per se, but alignment. So I'll let you go ahead and talk about that, Jimmy.
Yeah, we're still early on in the rollout on this, but as you know, we were partners with Cincy Jungle, Anthony, and those guys. We've been kind of partnering with those guys for quite a while. You could watch or listen to our show on a podcast platform in your cars or wherever you're at. They were downloading them to their platform, but we struck a deal with Believe Network. It's going to call it Believe. You're going to Believe in Cincinnati, in Cincy. There's going to be the Orange and Black Insider, Coach Speak, Chalk Talk with Coach Minich, 3 and Out, and of course, Bengal Jim and Friends will all be on that platform. That platform is still being kind of built out right now, but you're going to be able to get everything. Just if you ever watch Solomon Wilcox episodes, he's on that same network. So stay tuned. And I think James has a link he might throw into the comment section here. There's a website. Now, it's not all up there. You don't see our logos yet, but you'll get the link where you can download the app to kind of to download the podcast so you can listen to this in the car if you miss it on a Sunday night. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. There'll be more details come out. You're going to see kind of a joint communication between us and Orange and Black Insiders and the other guys as well on this. And I think Believe is going to be doing a blast about it at some point here soon. So it's going to be great for us, great for you, more access, easy access points for you guys to be able to watch and listen to us and join and be part of this whole thing. So we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, definitely exciting times. Some of you may be familiar. I think you touched on this, Jimmy. Solomon Show. For those that have Bally Sports, you can see that not only is it streamed, but they replay that on the Bally Sports Network. So for Reds games, weekends, and stuff like that, you'll see Solly on there with that. So exciting new change. As you said, Jimmy, still a bit of a work in progress. Dotting some I's, crossing some T's. So we'll keep everybody up to date. But as always, you saw the YouTube ticker going across the bottom. You can hit subscribe there. We understand you might not be able to watch the show live. You can always go back there and watch any of the shows going back, four plus seasons now. How many shows are we up to? Over 200?
Specific shows, we're almost at 200. We have other things that we've done, but actual shows about 200. So we're getting closer. We'll hit the 200 here early in the season this year.
So for season 5. But again, we appreciate all of this. None of this would be possible without you. So have your questions ready for Geoff. Again, we often say by the fans, for the fans, and none of this would be possible without your involvement. Tom?
No, it's a big step for us. I think the more Bengal fans we're able to talk to, the better. And it sounds like it's going to give us that opportunity and also to pool some resources and make our little corner of Bengaldom even stronger and more fun. And I say more fun because I'm generally the one that has fun while everybody else does the work. But nonetheless, it's going to be big, especially rolling in to a very big summer for us and what's coming up July 20th. And with that, James and Jimmy, what updates do we have on Jungle Jam?
We will. Let's touch on Paul's question here real quick. So the name's not changing. We're still Bengal Jim and Friends. None of that's changing. Just the network, Paul, that's going to have some of the replays on that. So talking football, Bengal Jim and Friends, that name's going to be the same. It's just under Believe in Cincy umbrella, which is on the Believe Network, which has podcasts for a million different things. You can go on there. That link is in the chat above. Whether it's your favorite college team, whether it's other stuff, you can find all that stuff on there. So
yeah,
all is good.
Just to let you know too, I know Brandon and Craig were very upset about the Bengals drafting Michigan players again, but whatever makes us better, Brandon and Craig will take them. So we'll take all the Michigan players we get. And then the last thing I want to talk about the draft is I just want to let you guys know that the fan of the year, John, international fan of the year, John and Tony, absolutely represented Bengals Nation very well up in Detroit. And if you saw the international fan of the year, John, his announcing the pick, kind of razzing Detroit a little bit, did a hell of a job with it. So the fans were up there, very well behaved, represented our team and our city very well up in Detroit. I was proud of them. There was an awful lot of Bengal fans up north for that draft, James.
Yeah, it looked packed, but I think regardless, we're seeing that more and more. Bengals fans, whether it's the road games, at the away tailgates, at the draft. I remember. If you remember, Jimmy, back in 2018, you and I were at the draft in Dallas inside the Jerry World, and it wasn't the first round. It was a little bit later in the draft. I think maybe on day 2. I forget who it was drafting for Pittsburgh, and the Cincy section was so loud booing, and I think the Ravens chimed in and the Browns. The Pittsburgh player that was making the announcement basically stopped and I forget, basically commented on how loud it was with what the Bengals fans started. So you're 100% correct. Whether it's a draft, whether it's a away tailgate, kudos to the Bengals fans because they represent. But looks like our guest is in the room a little bit early. So Tom, do you want to go ahead and do the announcement and we'll get right to him? We do not want to keep Syracuse alumni waiting any longer than they need to.
No, we won't do that. And as you know, it's an added bonus for James when we have a Syracuse guy on. But the main thing we like for Geoff is he's such a nice guy. 2, he has been so gracious to us over the years and patient with us with his time. And for a guy that probably hasn't slept much in the last couple of days and is maybe sick of talking to people, we really appreciate him giving our time tonight to go over the Bengals draft. So to kick us off tonight, here is Geoff Hobson.
Tommy, how are you? Sorry to be a little early there, but
not at all.
It's all right. I'm always tired and I'm always sick of talking to people, so this is perfect.
Hey, Geoff, but before we get going too much, and it's been a while since I've had an update. How is Tony C there at your house?
He's doing great. He turned 1 year old a couple days ago, and he's just going nuts. I hope he doesn't jump up here. I don't think he will. I think he knows.
Let him.
There's some imperial, and he and Teddy Ball game just had another fracas. So, but they're doing okay. Thank you
for those that don't know. Tony C is Jeff's cat, one-eyed cat, named after his favorite baseball player in his youth, Tony Conigliaro, who was hit in the eye with a fastball and kind of derailed his career to a large degree. But Tony C is the man, and it's always good to get an update on that.
Thank you, Tom. I'm glad you and I are the only people probably in Cincinnati that know those facts about the great Tony Conigliaro.
No problem. Well, hey, Geoff. Naturally, America, not just football fans, but America as a whole was mocked out by Thursday night. But oddly enough, I think a guy that had been mocked to them very often, who the Bengals had their eye on, and a guy that I knew about, but another Syracuse alum told me to watch him carefully in December. He texted me during a college football game and said, watch this Mims guy from Georgia. I don't know who he was. I forget. But he put me on to him. And, you know, I understand the lack of snaps, but it looks exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, maybe you can get that guy to recruit for Syracuse, Tom. But anyway,
he does.
That guy. But, yeah, no, I think it's they don't need the guy to play right away. And they've got a guy right there that, you know, is going to help them and mentor him. So it is kind of the best of both worlds. I think they feel like he had fewer than maybe 700, 800 snaps. But I think they saw enough in those 800 snaps of what they've got, you know. And so I think they made the pick. With a lot of comfort. And that, perfect storm. If he had played the entire season, he's probably gone. You know, he's probably gone before they pick at 18.
we all know Jacksonville had that pick in front of us. The LSU kid was slotted to him. The wide receiver out of LSU was slotted to Jacksonville on most boards. They ended up trading out of that pick at the last minute, Geoff. Dallas Turner, an edge guy, was available. Do you think if Jacksonville stayed in that spot, Dallas Turner was still on the table, that would have been a tougher decision for the Bengals to do what they did at 18?
Yeah, I actually think if Jacksonville had stayed there, I think they would have picked the corner because there hadn't been a corner taken yet. But neither here nor there, that would have left Turner there. I think it would have been a robust discussion, but I think I think it would have been a little bit more interesting. But I think Mims was their guy all the way. That's the sense I got. I mean, they don't need, that would have been a thing of need probably. They don't need edge guys, but they're always going to build right now. But they're always going to, I think, build up at tackle. There's the Burrow factor, that we're, that there's always going to be there. And so I think that's one of the things that comes into the decision. So I think Mims was their guy.
Yeah. Everybody that's watching right now, if you could, whatever platform you're watching on, type in some questions. James and I will try to get some of those out to Geoff here for him to answer any questions you guys have. So, Geoff, I don't know. I'm just kind of open-ended question here. I mean, just kind of talk about. I mean, look, nationally, it looks like a lot of A's, a lot of B grades. What's one of your favorite picks here? Not your favorite, but one of the favorites, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, I got a couple, but I think I'll probably go with the 5th rounder, Newton, who is a very intriguing guy. I think I know I talked to the scout, Christian Sarkisian, did the work on him down there at TCU. He was 3 years at Monroe, Louisiana, 2 years where he's from, 2 years at TCU. But this guy's a very versatile guy. I mean, Christian talked about how how he just moved easily in and out, inside, outside, has a knack for, knows the game, really knows the game, is a terrific leader, and talked about kind of the resiliency of the guy. The guy was at a winless program at Monroe, transferred in, helped TCU get to the national championship game, and decided to go back. He probably could have got drafted higher if he'd left in 2022. He had a hell of a year. And I think with a bunch of PBUs, and came back because they wanted to, they felt like there was some unfinished business there for the program. But the guy's played 59 games. He's got experience, and he's a guy that I don't think was on a lot of people's radar. But I think he's gonna play a lot. I think you're gonna see a lot of the guy.
A couple of follow-ups with him, Geoff. One, a lot of the so-called draft experts had said that actually a lot of those guys had him high round 2, maybe even knocking on round 1 to start this season. Yeah. And he fell obviously quite a bit this year. I've seen his 40 time all over from, 4.52 to the 4.47. So, every time I think I look on the internet, his 40 time is getting better. By July, he'll be running a 4.3.
Yeah.
But
right.
And the other thing with him is Tags better. I mean, he took him to school yesterday during his interview.
Yeah, I mean, that was he's a guy. He's known down there as really a terrific leader, a guy who is got a lot of fire. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of fire. That was clear just when he picked up the phone and was talking to us. Just off the cuff after he got drafted, which is always I'm always amazed how well these guys do when 10 minutes after they're drafted, they're on a conference call with people, with media he's never even met, But I thought he handled himself pretty well. But you could see the fire, in that. What I think Trags asked him, well, what kind of competitor are you? And he, ultimate Kobe Bryant. So that's kind of, an alpha. I think he's an alpha. But the bigger thing, too, is his versatility. I think Lou's going to be able to do a lot with him. And the fact that he was a receiver, Christian was talking about this, too, is he's got a kind of plays. He switched to receiver, I think, the spring of his freshman year at Monroe. But you can still see those instincts that he has. I mean, so I think that, that one's a favorite. I think, probably the 3rd round pick is the wideout, the wideout from Bama. I think that's going to be he's a fun guy to watch, and watch out for the last pick in the draft, right? I think that's the one people are raving about too. Lee, the center Lee from Miami, has gotten a lot of, and when you think about it, guys, if they move up or they move down, they don't get, they don't get a Lee with the last pick. They maybe don't get, if they used it to trade up, maybe they don't get Newton in the fifth. So that's why they sat there. I think they felt like there was always a better option than what was bringing a potential trade.
You're touching on all the viewer questions, Geoff, without even going to it. John had asked about with the 10 picks, maybe a high likelihood they all weren't going to make the roster. Do you think they attempted to move up at all? You brought some great points on the counter to that, but do you think there was any discussion to move up at all, Geoff?
Yeah, two things. I think they probably talked about moving to get up to the other Newton from Illinois. I think he was available at the top of the second round. I think they talked about that, but it was just too much to go up. And he ended up going 36, just too far to go up. Give up too much there. And I think they think the reason they picked these guys is because they were value picks that they feel can make the roster. So, just because they don't go into it thinking, well, not all 10 are going to make it. They look at them and they look at what they need and what they compare them to, and that's why they pick them. They do have a chance to make the roster.
You mentioned the third round pick out of Alabama, Burton. AJ mentions, have you ever seen Zach is visibly excited with a third round pick? I think the only thing that dropped Burton down was some off the field issue, or on the field post game issues that brought some question marks. What's your thought on a little deeper dive into Burton there with the third round pick and Zach's excitement?
Yeah, I mean, I think they did a lot of research on the guy, and Zach was clearly excited. I mean, it's an offensive guy, and he's a hell of an Zach's an offensive guy, and that's a hell of an offensive player. So just his reaction shows you what they think he brings to the table. Guy played 50 games in the SEC, and he averaged 18 yards per catch. I mean, that to me, that the SEC is like the AAA of the AFC North. So I don't know how that guy gets to the third round with that kind of production for two different great national caliber teams. So, and I think they did their due diligence, and I think they feel like they got a competitive guy who's really going to help them. I think too, he's also a guy that kind of. Where's he going to play? Does he have slot? Does he have the ability to go on the slot? That's going to be interesting to see if what they do with him. And I know TJ Hushmanzada, he's working with TJ Hushmanzada, which how about that for karma? He was making the pick in Detroit. Jimmy, you were there, right? You saw him when he walked out of there. When he walked out of that room beaming with the card, I knew we had one of his guys. I just didn't know which one, but that was the fact that TJ is working with him too, I think is valuable, because TJ was a competitive guy who sometimes had trouble, not sometimes, a lot of times, and he'll tell you that he had trouble reining in that competitiveness. But I think the fact that he is working with the kid, TJ knows what to do and what not to do. I think I don't think he could have a better mentor in this league than him.
Let's talk about the last great viewer questions. We're going to try to get to them all as long as Geoff will stay and answer them. The last couple of years, the tight end position has been a hot topic. Why aren't we drafting one? You look at last year's tight end class, that was certainly deep. We didn't do anything. Now this year, if we go the opposite end and draft two guys, kind of to Doug's question, you think our tight end room's finally addressed, and what led to the Bengals selecting two this year?
Oh yeah, I mean it's really been addressed, but I mean they tried to do it last year. It's not like they woke up and said we don't want a tight end this year. They tried, but they weren't in. Sometimes that's the way the board falls. They liked some of those guys in the second and third round last year. Board did not fall that way. It fell that way this year, and they get two. And they were two guys, and they always say this. They'll always tell you this. Yeah, gee, we didn't think he'd be there. But I think they legitimately felt that way about Iowa's All and Arizona's McClacken. I think they just felt that they had so much speed separation and the ability to catch the ball. I just don't think they thought they'd have a shot at him. But I think, obviously All's injury history pushed him down. And McClacken is, he's coming from Canada, had a long journey to get to where he got. That probably pushed him down. So I think they felt like they walked out of that with 2 gems. And they're going to sign some free agents too. So, that room is, I think that room is back up and running.
Talking about gems on the defensive line, you get a guy with great bloodlines in Chris Jenkins. And then you go one pick, close to one pick lower, that one round after that, and McKinley Jackson, and you get a guy who can plug the run. Certainly I think we are set up to beat any team in the league. Maybe the 3 most difficult would be the 3 in our division. You think they've got the remedy for that? You've got a plugger. Maybe, he's not Mike Reed. He's not Aaron Donald, but Jackson is a plugger. He can plug and hold the line. And I guess Jenkins really can do a little bit of everything. He can push the pocket. He can pursue. He can slice. Do you think, we have our remedy on the inside of the defensive line?
Well, I'm writing about that today, Tom, for tomorrow. And, I propose that when we look back on this 10 years from now, we may be calling it the McKinley-Jenkins Act of 2024, because the guys not only have ability, but they both have they got something to them. They got stuff in the neck. They got stuff in the neck, and they both of them are captains. Both of them are fiery guys that are really committed to football. So I think they bring a little something. Talking to the guy who scouted Chris Jenkins, it says he's NFL captain material already. Well, or soon, after he makes a couple of years of being in the league. And Jackson's cut out of the same cloth. And I think, Jenkins, they feel is an ascending player on the pass rush. I think they think he'll eventually be a 3-down guy. I think they see Jackson as a 2-down guy, plugger, as you said, Tom. And I think it is. I mean, to me, it's an answer. We're all being kept up at night about what they did in the division. We're all worried about that. And I think this was those 2 picks, were shots fired across the bow, because they're not going to be what they're going to be in a couple of years, but they are the 2 guys who are going to play the most out of this class right away. They're going to be getting a lot of DJ Reader snaps, and they'll get better. But I think with Arthur Smith running the ball in Pittsburgh, Lamar being Lamar, and the Cleveland offensive line, Bill Callahan's gone, but that Cleveland offensive line is still there. I think they signing Sheldon Rankins. I think they know what they have to do.
Yeah, I like it. Let's move over to the undrafted free agents. Geoff, there's 2 guys I want to talk about. I'll play a short video here. I know gotten a request.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can talk about them because I'm with the team, and I don't know if I can talk. We haven't signed them.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'm going to talk about them here. There's been a couple requests to show this video, so I'm going to play this video. I forgot about that anyhow. Geoff, my bad. Hold on. I'm going to play this video though.
Neil Brown wants to see Sinkfield more aggressive on punt returns. This one getting some help from the West Texas wind, and McNamara flips the field. I don't think I've been that excited for a punt. That's an 87-yard punt. Neil Brown wants
a little wind help. You don't need to comment on that.
Can we sign the wind too, or
yeah, exactly.
that come too?
So Geoff really can't talk about these undrafted free agents.
I can. I think we're probably not surprised if they do sign a punt because they're not signed yet. Okay, they've agreed. They have to come in and get their physical, and then it's not official yet. But I don't think it's if they're thinking about signing a punter, I don't think that would probably shock anybody because the room. I think they think the room, and I didn't think Robbins had that bad of a year, honestly. He was. He was up and down. I thought he had a typical rookie year. I don't think he was horrible. He had a bad, to ask him to have 10 punts on a wet field in the first game of his career, that was a tough way to break in. But you had to figure they were going to bring in somebody,
Right. So Geoff, talk about. They feel pretty good about their linebacking core right now. They didn't really draft. They didn't draft any linebackers here at the end of the day. So I guess talk about that linebacker room. It wasn't a shock to me, but there was a lot of people talking about it.
They haven't drafted a linebacker, Jimmy, since 2020 maybe? When they drafted 3? It's been I think they signed Bocce, I think off. I think they got him off waivers. So yeah, I mean, I thought they might make a move there just because the way the new kickoff rule is. You're going to have bigger guys there. I think you're going to have probably more linebackers than maybe DBs than you have in the past. So I was kind of looking at that. They've probably signed a couple. They will sign a couple in unrestricted free agency. But they love the room. I mean, now they don't know if they're going to get Marcus Bailey back, but they've got Akeem Davis-Gaither as captain of their special teams, basically. And then the three guys, Wilson and Pratt and Bocce and also Akeem. I mean, they're great production. They're still young. They only they use two at a time, right? They rarely use three. So I mean, how many do you
Right.
have to go get? You know what I mean? How many do you have to go get? It's not like 1998 when you're taking Takeo Spikes and Brian Simmons in the first round. So, it's a different game. So I really wasn't too surprised they didn't take it back. Or I mean, I maybe in the 6th or 7th I was thinking, but I'm sure they probably got somebody they were thinking of drafting. They probably got him, as a CFA.
A lot of talk in the chat, Geoff, about Matt Lee, the center drafted round 7 out of University of Miami. Ted Karras obviously is the anchor of the line. Ted's not going to be here forever. What's your thoughts on that pick, late 7th rounder that has a chance to slide in, be a backup?
Well, that's what I'm saying when you kind of poo-poo the 10 picks. The last one might end up being pretty good. I mean, I know they like his personality. They said he's really kind of like Ted when it comes to personality. He's got the demeanor that you want for a center, and he's very good in pass protection, which has got to be the number one. When you're looking for a lineman in the Joe Burrow era, can he pass protect? This kid can pass protect. He's smart. Played a lot of ball now because he transferred from UCF. I think he was in Central Florida, and then went to Miami. And he's got about 50 games under his belt too. So I think that's really intriguing to watch. I mean, they need they really don't have a backup center when you think about it. Max Shapping's still a free agent. Trey Hill is still trying to get a foothold after being drafted in 2021. So there's a spot there maybe for the taking.
Hey, Geoff, I think it's interesting. Sorry, Tom. I think it's interesting. People have to understand it wasn't that long ago. There was 12 rounds or more in the NFL draft. So some of these guys were getting in the 7th round, and even some of these undrafted free agents that hopefully we sign here very soon. Some of these guys can come in and make an impact. I mean, at the end of the day, that's why the undrafted free agency is a big deal. These guys are out here trying to sign these guys now.
Yeah, I mean, Bengals history and every other team's history is littered with huge guys that made big contributions. Who weren't signed. You can think of Vinny Ray, ended up playing 130 games. Was an undrafted guy. I remember Glenn Holt wasn't even signed when he came to minicamp. Ended up having a couple years as a kick returner, and they will, if I'm not mistaken, I guess Cedric Pearman was not. He was drafted. He was on his 2nd stint with the team, but they've always had guys come in and who are undrafted who have remember Wilcox, right? Wilcox contributed heavily. So now with New England, so they usually find somebody. I mean, Shed Jackson last year really came off the bench, played in a couple games when it got thin, when it gets thin in the receiver corps.
Geoff, something that it's not completely related to the draft. I think the draft has forced the story. It came out yesterday was Coach Taylor saying that Dax Hill will now be going to the cornerbacks room. We still don't know. Does that mean is he looking to play in the slot? Will he be outside? Will he be that specialist with his instincts and athletic ability? The guy to shut down the tight ends, to shut down Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce and so forth. But are you surprised to see that move, or did you see that coming, or was it just logical?
Well, not after they signed Geno Stone. When they signed Geno Stone, you figured he was moving, and then they signed Von Bell, and you knew he was really going. But I mean, basically, Stone plays Hill's spot, more of a free safety, right? I think the thing about Hill is he can do a lot of things, and they got to figure out what is it they want him to do. He can, all the things you said he can do. I mean, he can cover Mark Andrews. He can also cover receivers too. I mean, so he's very good. I mean, he's almost better near the line of scrimmage, but he can also cover. So I mean, I think, I think he can play the slot. He did at Michigan. He did his rookie year here. I think when Mike Hilton went down for a game. So, clearly when Stone got signed, that was the move. And, I think they think that might be his corner, maybe his best position. Although, like I said, I didn't think he had that bad of a year. I mean, when you figure he had never played an entire year at the position he played in the pros, he was very active, had a lot of tackles. I think I figured out a stat where only he and, for DBs, he and another guy were the only guys to have like as many tackles as they did, and combined with TFLs and PBUs. So I mean, the guy does get on the field and he makes plays. They just got to find out what it is they want him to do. So maybe that varies from game to game. Maybe when they play Baltimore and Kansas City, he's covering the tight ends. Maybe when they play Cleveland, he's in the box. I mean, or he's playing in the slot. I mean, depending on the receivers and the personnel on the other side of the ball. But I think they've got a guy that they know, that can help them at corner.
The one guy we haven't talked about is Cedric Johnson, the edge out of Ole Miss, being in the SEC, obviously going up against people like Mins, like the tackle drafted Latham out of Alabama. What's your thoughts on that pick? That's probably one of the players we haven't gone a deep dive on tonight, Geoff.
Yeah, he's got a long road to hoe. I mean, he probably got the toughest. He probably has the toughest climb to make the roster than anybody because he's on the edge. You already got about 6 guys there, right? You got Hubbard, you got Henderson, you got Sample, you got Osai, you got Miles Murphy. So that's going to be a long road to hoe there. But he looks like a guy who's played, had a good Senior Bowl. Went up against Tyler Guyton. I know had a good practice against Tyler Guyton, who ended up going in the first round from Oklahoma, the tackle from Oklahoma. So I mean, he's obviously got abilities. He played all up and down the line. But I don't. It's going to be. Look at the guys that are in front of him.
Looking at the whole draft process, let's be honest, it's a crapshoot. Look at tape, look what they're done, look at injury history. At the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen. We'll look back, as we talked about earlier on the show, 3 years and get a better evaluation of how this draft panned out. Looking at the Bengals in particular, Geoff, what would you say are the 2 biggest areas they look at? Obviously, they bring 30 guys in like every NFL team does. They ended up drafting at least 5 or 6 of those guys. How much of it is the character, the conference they play in? We see a lot of SEC guys. What's your thoughts if you had to look at a couple traits that the Bengals look at specifically when evaluating guys in this draft process?
No, I think you hit on James. I think you hit on a couple of them right there. They like the big school guys. They like guys who have played a lot of games. They like captains. We've seen that, right? I mean, it seems like almost every guy they pick is a captain. They think that's a pretty good. Tell right there. I think they're looking for guys that are play for winning teams too. They like that, obviously, and I think I think they spend enough time with them. I think that they know what Zach wants. They know what kind of player Zach wants in that room. But I also think that if you got a good locker room, because let's face it, everybody's different and nobody's perfect. So you're gonna need, locker rooms have to absorb that. The good locker rooms absorb that, and I think that they have that because they pick guys like Jenkins, because they pick guys like McKinley Jackson, and a guy like Newton, who's obviously a team guy and an all-in guy. I think that's got a lot, but it's a combination of everything. It's the division, it's character, it's all that stuff, and it's kind of also, I think, too, the style of play. I mean, that's why you get a Burton when you can. That's why you get the quarterback. It's a quarterback-driven league. It's a quarterback-driven team. That's why the head coach is is exultant when you get a receiver like that. I have a feeling like in Baltimore, if they got an edge rusher, Harbaugh would do that. But that's the identity of the teams. That's the identity of the team. So, I think all those things you said, school, production, and I think character. Like I said, a captain thing is, we've been noticing that ever since really Zach got here, and Marvin would do it too. Marvin loved to draft guys from the SEC and the Big Ten who had played 50 games and were captains. He had his share of those guys too.
Tom?
Building a little bit on that with the Burton pick, there was a saying that when Brian Billick was the head coach of the Ratbirds, he never had to worry about the locker room. It was Ray Lewis's locker room, and in the same when Harbaugh when he came in. If there would be a guy we draft with a little bit of a checkered past, questions on attitude, it's Joe Burrow's locker room. And, I remember seeing tapes on him at the Senior Bowl in a very constructive way, but getting on guys who were late for the offensive meetings, who weren't putting out full at practice. Not a rah-rah scream in your face guy, but getting on them in the right way. Do you think there's that culture in the locker room that such a guy, it's taken care of there in the locker room?
Yeah, Tom. I want to be careful. I don't want to. I don't want to indict Burton because
no, for anybody,
because I think some of this stuff. I think a lot of this stuff, and I don't know, but I met the kid once. I've talked to TJ about him, so I don't know. I saw the tape of the one incident that he had, but I don't know. That's somebody streaming on the field and he's in the middle of it. I don't know what happened there. So to me, especially nowadays, there's stuff out there that is, same stuff was said about Cedric Benson years ago, and he showed up. He was a completely different person than anything they've written about. But anyway, all that said, I think Tommy, I think they do, and I think that's the beauty of having, it's Burrow's locker room. It's not only Burrow's locker room. It's Teddy Karras's room. It's Jermaine Pratt's room. It's Hendrickson and Hubbard, Mike Hilton. They get a lot of those core guys that have been around, for a while, and now they have to, they got to replace some of those guys like Boyd and Mixon and Reeder. They were great locker room guys. Well, now you're getting some kids who are known for being good locker room guys, and that's with Burrow setting the tone and the head coach setting the tone and other guys setting the tone. It gets passed on. You know what I mean? It's good. The Bengals defensive line used to talk about that. Domatar Pecco and Mike Johnson were, passing it on to Hubbard and guys like that. So, I think it's a great thing Zach's done in the locker room. And but Tom, you know how this goes. In 6 years, the only guy is probably going to be left. Or at some point, Burrow's going to be the only guy probably from the 2021 team, right? But the whole thing keeps, and I don't know. I don't know. That may be true because if he plays 17 years or something, but you just, and they did it in New England. They Brady kept winning with a different generation of guys, and I think Burrow will too.
Yeah. Let's go back to the tight end position a little bit, Geoff, if you could. We'll just talk about the first draft, Eric All drafted in the 4th round. Talk about him a little bit more detail if you're able.
Yeah, no, I just, the reason he was there at 115 was his injuries. He had a herniated back disc 2 years ago. He's coming off an ACL. So, that's really the only question. Can he stay healthy? Because he's got, talking to Christian, the guy who scouts Iowa, he was saying he's got all the traits of being a starter. He's got the same traits that the other Iowa tight ends that are being big names in the league have now. So, can he stay healthy? I guess that's the question. But I think we all know his story. He's obviously he's a local guy, Fairfield, Ohio. family goes to every game. They're at Iowa for every game, and great. He gets great support from around the city and his folks. And sounds like one of our own. It's great. It's always great when you get one of them, And so yeah, he's an interesting guy. He's just it's interesting. He's another guy. There we go, Tom. That's one of the guys. It's the Michigan guy. Captain of Michigan. There's another Michigan. They drafted 2 Michigan captains, Jenkins and All before he transferred. So I think there's another guy. It was interesting. We asked him, or I guess I asked him, why did he go to Iowa? Why did he transfer to Iowa? Because that's not exactly a mecca for a pass catcher to go to, right? And he said, the minute I walked in the building, he goes, I was just really impressed with how everybody was no nonsense. It was all business. People were flying around. The pads were popping. So that's a great answer. That's all I think you need to know about Eric All.
He is all business. He was working out when Zach called him, wasn't he?
Yeah. He's I think too. The other kid, the other tight end is interesting too, Tom. I think he's got an interesting story. He's got an opposite story than All did. All's the Michigan guy, but this guy, he had grew up in Canada and he transferred down to the States, went to live in Arizona, I think, so he could try and get a shot and to play in college. And he's James Casey calls him a self-made man, which is interesting because so is James Casey, and hell of a tight ends coach. And I told him last night, I said, well, it's been 4 long years for that guy since a tight end got drafted, right? Drew Sample was the last tight end drafted, so he's got some folks. He certainly has some folks to work with.
Yeah,
James.
Geoff, if you could talk a little about that, the running back room right now. How do you look at the running back room with Joe Mixon being gone, and just talk about that a little if you're able.
Yeah, sure. No, back by committee. It's going to be. I think you're going to get, depending on the game, probably the situation. I think it's going to be Chase Brown and Zach, and I think Zach Moss is an interesting guy. I think he's one of these guys that he gets a hole and he goes. He can sense where the hole is. Chase Brown gets a hole and he's gone. So 2 different styles, but I think they're both gun runners. They tell me this is what they say. They say that Zach is probably more comfortable, running out of the gun, and so is obviously Chase. So I think you got 2 guys that Zach probably is. Zach's probably a little bit of a better fit than Mixon, although I don't know how you can say a team leader and a guy with 4 1,000-yard seasons, wasn't a great fit. He was, but maybe for what the Bengals do and what they're evolving to, you get guys like Moss and Chase Brown, fit it. I think there's probably a couple more shoes to be dropped there. Probably, I don't know if they'll, how that will end up. But I know Travion Williams. Nobody ever talks about him, but all the guy, whenever he plays, he does what he's supposed to do. Really solid guy. And I'm wondering now, since now kick returns are going to be, that's the other shoe to drop too, guys. And I'm interested in to talk to, and it's be interesting to see what they sign for CFAs. Because I was talking to Darren Simmons about this, the Bengals special teams coordinator, talking about the new kickoff rule, and they're going to have 2 returners back there for every kick. So all of a sudden, how does that? Are they going to maybe get another running back? I think Travion does a pretty good job returning kicks. He's not a burner or anything, but he's a savvy guy that finds a hole and always seems to pop a 40. Whenever he's returning kicks. So. Does he have a job because of that? And who's the other kick returner? And do you have to have, an extra guy because you are returning so many kicks? So that's something to be played out that I think will probably impact the room, that running back room.
Yeah, good.
I don't know how you can have Chase. I don't know how you can have Chase returning kicks if he's going to be playing as much as he is from scrimmage.
Right. Great point. I think everybody that's watching right now, we've got almost 1,300 people in the room watching right now. I think we can all improve through free agency, through the draft. This team is better off today than they were last year. So it's pretty exciting to see, Geoff. I like that you got the memo on the Black Shirt Day today at Bengal Gym and Friends.
Well, thank you for having
was,
me. Thank you for having me. It's there was you're exactly right, Jimmy. They're better than they were Thursday morning.
That's a true story. Absolutely, brother. And I meant to say something earlier, but one of my favorite hats you got on right now, the Rattler, Ken Riley, Hall of Famer and Ring of Honor inductee. But Geoff, you don't know how much it means to us, the fans, everybody. You work just as hard as Duke Tobin and the rest of that coaching staff. And we
thank you for having me on. Thank you for having me on, guys. I always really regard Tom as the historian. I always love talking to him because he's got it's like he's like the Doris Kearns Goodwin of Bengaldom. He's like the historian. So and I like talking to him. He does. All you guys do a great job. I know the organization really appreciates what you guys do. I appreciate what you do, and I certainly appreciate the 1,300 people in the room. That's a great thing. I certainly appreciate that.
Geoff, we appreciate it, man. You can take the toothpicks off your eyelids, and you can get some sleep tonight. And we appreciate you being here with us, buddy.
Thanks very much. Hope to see you guys soon and have a beer.
Jeff, thanks. Take care, Tony C.
Yes, sir. Thank
you. We're going to apparently Tom is the crazy cat lady of the show that asks about cats and
it was actually last year at Jungle to the Hall. I was everything was done. James and I were done tearing down.
Yeah.
And
Jimmy was signing autographs. Continue.
I didn't. Gosh damn.
But we was talking. He introduced me to his wife, a lovely woman, and he started talking to me. And I know about his boyhood baseball hero was Tony Conigliaro, and it mentioned something about he said, well, my cat's named Tony C. And I said, really? And he goes, and he's got one eye, just like Tony C. And I said, is that why you named it? He said, I didn't name Tony C anyway, but he's got one eye, just like Tony C. So when I have seen him out a few times, or when we communicate, I always ask him how his cat Tony C is.
So he only has one cat, though. He doesn't have like a dozen.
Well, he mentioned something that the cat was fighting with Teddy Ballgame. So he must have gotten another cat and named it after a Boston Red Sox. I didn't know about his second cat.
We need to get him a Jim Brown cat or an Ernie Davis cat. Maybe that'll be next. But nope, always great to have Geoff on, and thanks to all the viewers that interactive in the chat there with the questions. Obviously, we can't get to them all. Some of you asked multiple of the same question, but. Thank you. That was great getting that feedback and having Geoff answer those, and that's what we love about the show. So everybody's in agreement. Too early to tell, but we're all happy. As everyone said, we're better today than we were Thursday, morning. And bring these guys in. Welcome them all to Cincinnati, and we're going to cheer them on. So, Jimmy, what do we got next?
Let's talk a little Jungle Jam. James, you want to kind of kick off that conversation and we'll hit that right now.
Put the ticket link in the chat. We're Wednesday is the final day to get your name in the drawing. All you have to do is simply buy a ticket for Jungle Jam, and you will go into this raffle here. I think I'm popping up the right raffle.
Oh, there's a helmet here still.
And you still have the helmet. That's better than this graphic. But somebody's going to win that. All you have to do is simply buy a ticket before May 1st. We're going to do a random drawing. We'll probably do it. Let's see. We're on next week,
show.
Right? Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do a week from tonight. We'll put all the wheels or all the names on a wheel. It's probably too many names for a duck race, but we'll throw them all on.
It have to be the wheel for sure.
Yes. Going to have to be the wheel.
Hey, James, James, just real quick, we owe an individual, a viewer, 2 tickets to the Logan Wilson celebrity softball game. We'll do that as well next week. So we'll give away that helmet, and we will also give away those 2 tickets to the celebrity softball tournament for Logan Wilson.
Perfect. The ticket link is in there in the chat. If you haven't you haven't had the opportunity, we announced the Cordell Volson charity, another one of the Bengals. It's a new charity that Cordell and his fiancee Gracie are launching. I don't know if we've made this announcement yet, but Cordell will be on the May 19th show to talk about his charity, what they're doing, Small Towns, Big Dreams. So tune in May 19th for that. We'll have Cordell on to talk about that, but there'll be another beneficiary of Jungle Jam, and so many different charities will be beneficiaries, whether it's the Joe Burrow Foundation, whether it's Cordell's, whether it's Revive, I think we're Kenny Anderson Alliance, Ted Karras's. So again, all the proceeds from that will go to the charity, and we look forward to a fun day, July 20th at Megacorp Pavilion. So many things. I'll pop up the graphics if you want to say a couple words, Jimmy, and
Sure.
Tree Ring Circus that day.
Yeah. Look, there's a bunch of stuff going on. I think James, that term from James just uses it. 3-ring circus. We've got Duke Energy and Johnny Hodge team at Caldwell Banker sponsoring our Kids Zone inflatables, all kinds of stuff for kids to do during the event. You also have the ability to enter for not season tickets. They will be tickets in section 158 for the year, but including playoffs if they make the playoffs, preseason, regular season, and playoffs. So they're your tickets for the year, but you got to buy a raffle. You can do that on the link that James put in the chat area as well. But 100% of those proceeds are going right into the Joe Burrow Foundation. Jimmy and Robin Burrow will be present that night for a check presentation. Also on top of that, we've got the cornhole tournament is going to also benefit. I'm sorry, Cordell Volson's charity is what that.
You're right. You had it.
And the Houday ladies are facilitating that for us. So they're Lisa and her folks are going to be facilitating that for us at the end of the day. But we're going to have a live band. We're going to have DJ Trub there. Foco is sending us boxes and boxes full of giveaways and stuff. We're going to have 2 programs.
Tom's favorite part here.
Yep.
There you go.
2 programs
Jungle
that
to the
night.
Hall 4.
Jungle to the Hall 4. This whole thing that we're doing on the 20th stems from Jungle to the Hall, period. So this will be the 4th year of Jungle to the Hall. We have got Corey Dillon committed. We've got Jeff Blake committed. Pete's losing names here.
14.
Stay tuned.
Bob
Yes.
Anderson, Bob Johnson, Bob Trumpy. We've got a bunch of current players. As we get closer to the events, we'll put those out. There's going to be a lot of things changing from now until then, but a lot of additions and maybe some subtractions. But as we get closer, just like Reds Fest, as we get closer to the event, we'll be there for that. And also, go ahead.
No, two things real quick. One, and I got this, and I laughed when I got this question about a week ago. I thought they were kidding, but I've gotten it a couple times more. At Megacorp that day, there'll be plenty of food and drink opportunities if you want to buy something to eat and something to drink. Yeah, I mean, you can be there from the time the doors open until we shut down, I guess, a little bit after right around 6 o'clock. But there'll be plenty of food and drink. Do we know for certain who our food suppliers are yet?
Yeah, it looks like Donato's is in for that for sure. Skyline is likely in, and we're waiting on one more food vendor to be there as well. There's some other surprises happening. We have a cigar bar that is being worked on right now by our good friend Craig. We've got just tons of giveaways, silent auction. On that link that James put in there, there's actually silent auction stuff on there already. There's been some donations from multiple places. One was directly from Harrah's Casino in Kansas City. We have been given to give away at this event, auction off, a 2 or 3 night stay in the Harrah's Hotel in Kansas City, as well as 2 tickets to their suite to watch the Bengals play Kansas City. That's a big deal, guys. That's a huge, huge package. I mean, I think we already have
jerseys, all kinds.
Yeah,
of
I think
stuff.
we have a bid on that already of $500. The Harrah's weekend in Cincinnati, in Kansas City, when the Bengals play Kansas City. That's a really big deal. That is a really, really big deal. And who knows? What if that suite, James and Tom? I think Tony said it in one of our text strings. Just imagine if that suite is right next to Taylor Swift.
Extra
Guess some
bonus. So it does include 2 sweet tickets to the Bengals game whenever the NFL decides they want to announce the schedule, hopefully within the next 2 weeks, and up to 3 nights at the Harrah's Casino there just on the outskirts of Cincinnati. So some other great prizes. There's a team-issued Burrow jersey there. We're adding to this. There's a Munoz signed jersey, Jamar Chase helmet, and again, 100% of the proceeds will go to the charities. There's a unique Money Mac jersey here. Salute to service one. So stay tuned. All that can be found on the page. You're just kind of going through this site here. There's everything. There's a 50-50 raffle, as we mentioned. 100% of those proceeds will go to the Revive Foundation. There's the year of tickets. We showed that graphic in the Bengal Gym section. $100 donation gets you a chance to win tickets there. The cornhole tournament info to benefit.
And James, the cornhole tournament's getting close, isn't it? Are we about 75% there, close to it?
We're getting close, yeah. So it's going to be 32 teams, double elimination, sweet prize pack, courtesy of FOCO, Bengals Bids, and our man Ron Boyle with the custom trophies. So that's going to be a lot of fun that day. So, like we talked about, so much going on, and hopefully you'll be able to be part of that fun day for sure.
Yeah. So again, bottom line is grab your tickets, because the media push, we wanted to wait till post-draft for the media push. So you're going to hear over the next 3 to 5 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, local TV, local radio is picking this up. So our only source of communicating this whole thing has been through social media only. So once this hits the Cincinnati market, tri-state market, local TV and radio, we do fully expect this thing to sell out by the end of May, early June at some point. But if you're going to go there, make sure you grab them now and be entered for that helmet. So it's going to be a really, really fun day. Pretty excited about it, man. So.
All righty, let's hit this button here with our man from Toledo. You didn't put that picture up.
2-minute warning.
Good old Chuck from Toledo, man. That's tell you what, you meet so many good people through Bengals football and through the tailgate, and Chuck's has sat in front of me since the day that stadium's been open, and his family from Toledo and some friends, the best people in the world. I love all the folks who meet through Bengals football.
I'll start it, I guess. Favorite pick, we'll just go right back to the draft. The second round pick out of Michigan, NFL pedigree. His dad was drafted within 5 picks, same round. I think Chris was, 48. His father was like 44. Excited about that pick. We know the trenches need to be addressed, and I think Chris is going to do big things for us. Jungle Jam coming up. Remember, tune in next Sunday night. We're going to announce the winner, who's going to win that Jamar Chase autographed Speed Flex helmet. All you have to do is simply have purchased your tickets before May 1st. So you have 2 days left to do that. And again, happy about the draft. Kudos to Detroit for rocking it out of the park. It stays in the NFC North next year, going to Green Bay. And as we talked about at the beginning of the show, hopefully Cincinnati in 2028. We'll see what happens. And no doubt our city can handle it. Let's see what the NFL decides. So as always, appreciate everyone tuning in. Tom?
No, it was a great couple of days for the team. They addressed what they needed. We bolstered the offensive line. I think Mims will play some this year, just based on history of players. I think Mims will play this year, and I think he will help. I think he's going to be a special right tackle for many years here in town. That we addressed the defensive line, which was probably the most glaring need on the team, with 2 guys. And I don't know, McKinley doesn't look he looks pretty fired up right there. He looks ready to go. But we're going to need him, and we're going to need him quick. And I think both of them, like Geoff said, Jenkins will probably get more snaps than any rookie. And I think Jackson will be thrown into the fire on week 1. So, no, really good draft. Very happy with it. And most of all, though, really happy with all of you. Thank you for joining us on Sunday nights to talk Bengals football. You've got so many ways and so many places you can go to get Bengals information and share and your enthusiasm with the team. So the fact that you choose to do it with us, whether it's live or you watch the podcast a little later, really means a lot to all of us. So with that, Jimmy?
Yeah, ditto, Tom. Great close. I just want to say thanks to Geoff Hobson. This guy, I can't believe he showed up tonight. I mean, this guy has worked his butt off. He's been up late, up early, out late, up early. He's been working really hard. And for him to spend time with us is really cool. And he always provides a lot of valuable insight. Almost 1,500 people right now in the room watching all the platforms combined. Thank you so much for being part of this.
He muted himself, James.
Boy, how come we can't get him to do that more often? Let's see here. Unmute. Jimmy.
There we go.
I didn't touch it, Tom. It was James. I must have had some connection issue there for a minute. But anyway, at the end of the day, I want to say thank you for being with us tonight. Free agents, the drafts, we're a way better team today than we were last year. So we got to be excited about that. We'll see you guys next week. We love you guys. Who Day. See you next Sunday.
Who Day.